Hello, you're watching New Vision TV News. I am Rathina Sijan. You're coming to you live from the New Vision newsroom. We start with the news around Uganda. Now, the National Environment Management Authority has cleared the development of TILENGA oil project activities by issuing certificates of approval to Total Exploration, the developer of the TILENGA project. NEMA Executive Director Otimo Krud has reviewed the environmental and social impact assessment report that was approved after a rigorous exercise that also involved locals in Bulisa and Noya districts. Now, the exercise has been going on since June 2018. With the certificates, Total Exploration has the permission to extract oil, but within the set guidelines. Let's go to SHEEMA district, where residents have been warned against vandalization and theft of electricity equipment that is being provided under the Rural Electrification Agency. Now, this call was made on Tuesday by the Energy Minister, Irene Muloni, while commissioning the low voltage electricity extensions at Runyinya Village in SHEEMA North constituency in SHEEMA district that will cover all villages in SHEEMA. Residents were asked to be vigilant and question any stranger who comes to the area disguising as an electrician. News from Butaleja district: security personnel in Butaleja have blocked the election of a traditional herbalist chairperson, citing irregularities in the entire exercise. Now, security personnel led by the Deputy Resident District Commissioner of Butaleja, Elijah Mudoi, swung into action on Tuesday and halted the voting exercise. Mudoi said he cannot allow the voting exercise to go on since members of the previous executive had filed to seek views from all the traditional herbalists in the district on how to conduct the polls. The over 2,000 traditional herbalists who had gathered smoking pipes accused Mudoi of having received a bribe from the old executive members in order to block the election. In Buyende district, now a characteristic smell of rotting material fills the air as locals wade through the green mass to draw water from Lake Chuga and Bukungu Beach in Buyende district. Fishing boats with their equipments looking for the day's catch look like they have been glued onto the green layer that has encroached on the lake waters. Sarah Kalembe, the lakeside resident, said the age-old waterweed with broad green leaves has been joined by rather new peculiar weed that has much smaller leaves. Isma Koja, the also chairperson of Bukungu village, says the weed is blown into the lake shores by strong winds. News coming in from Kabale district: a mother and her 5 children infected with jiggers are admitted at Kabale Regional Referral Hospital in critical condition. The 6 hail from Mushanje cell in Nyarushija Parish, Bufundi sub-county in Rubanda district. The mother, Irene Mursimana, said they have battled with jiggers for the last 6 months. She suspects that the problem could have been as a result of staying with chicken in the same house. Barishmana further said that she failed to purchase medicine for treating her children due to poverty. According to Dr. Anne Maria Mutebi, the Deputy Director for Kabale Regional Referral Hospital, the 6 are in bad shape. Let's close the news around Uganda from Arua district, where Christians of Canaan Anglican Church in Lazebu Parish in Logiri sub-county made hold Easter prayers in the church compound because the church roof was ripped off by heavy rains. It is now 3 months since the church roof was blown off the building. Now, the over 200 Christians who pray in the Anglican Church are worried that they may conduct Easter prayers in the compound and that if it rains, they may not conduct the prayers. Now, their option is conducting the service on that day in the church compound. That is it for the news around Uganda. Let us take a look at the news around East Africa and around the world with Lynn Komjisha.
Hello, you're watching New Vision TV. This is news around East Africa. My name is Lynn Komjisha. We start off with Kenya. Now, a Kenyan family has sued Boeing for the loss of their son, a 29-year-old George Kabau, who died in last month's Ethiopian airline crash. Kaba was an electrical engineer working with General Electric through 2 firms, one in USA and the other in Nairobi. The family expects court to determine the profits Boeing made from the sale of the particular aircraft model over the years to determine the compensation they are to be paid. News from Tanzania. The Tanzanian government can give a very simple reason for President John Pombe Magufuli taking drastic steps, that he has the power to do so. Public Service Minister George Muchika has explained to Parliament that the President recently moved the aviation agency from the Ministry of Works to the President's office because he has the power to do so. Members of Parliament wanted to know the reason for the move, saying they feared transferring the agency to the President's office at a time of making purchases worth over 1 trillion Tanzanian shillings would erode the transparency in the aircraft purchase mega deals. News from Uganda. In appreciation for his peacemaking role, deposed Sudanese leader General al-Bashir can now enjoy a peaceful retirement in Uganda if he so wishes. Uganda's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Henry Okello Oryem, says in recognition of the role he played in brokering the South Sudan peace deal, Uganda is willing to grant Bashir asylum if he asks for it. It is not yet clear if peacemaker Bashir intends to take this offer. Away from East Africa, we take a look at what's making headlines around the world. We start off with France. Hours after a massive fire ravaged the Notre Dame Cathedral, an outpouring of financial support has seen private donors pledging more than €500 million, which is about $564 million towards the restoration of the Parisian landmark. The full extent of the damage has yet to be assessed, but the world-famous icon of Gothic architecture potentially faces many years of costly repairs to restore its roof and spire, which collapsed in dramatic fashion on Monday evening. In Indonesia, voting has ended in the presidential and legislative elections, with tens of millions of people casting votes without any widespread hitches. Preliminary results based on so-called quick counts, votes publicly tallied at polling stations, are expected to start rolling in within 2 hours. The latest coming in from Sudan indicate that Sudan's deposed President Omar al-Bashir was moved to COPA prison in the capital Khartoum late Tuesday, according to 2 family sources. Bashir is being held under tight security in solitary confinement. Since his removal by the military last Thursday, Bashir had been detained under heavy guard in the presidential residence inside the compound that also houses the defense ministry. Now, Pope Francis on Wednesday thanked rescuers who put their lives at risk to salvage the medieval Catholic Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris from a devastating blaze, and said he was eager to see it restored. Addressing French pilgrims and visitors in Rome, the pontiff told them he felt their pain. The Vatican has said it is willing to offer restoration know-how to help rebuild the fire-damaged landmark. Now, President Donald Trump has vetoed a bill Congress passed to end the United States military assistance in the Saudi Arabia-led war in Yemen. In a break with the president, Congress voted for the first time to invoke the War Powers Resolution to try and stop U.S. involvement in a foreign conflict. But Trump vetoed the measure on Wednesday, with the Congress lacking the votes to override him. Now, the UN Secretary General has appointed Special Advisor Nicholas Haysom to support the African Union's mediation efforts in Sudan, where the military ousted longtime President Omar al-Bashir last week. UN spokesman Stephen Dujarric told reporters that Haysom is being put at the disposal of the African Union, which is understood to be engaged in some mediation capacity between the Transitional Council in Khartoum and various parts of Sudanese society. Dujarric adds that the Secretary General is very attached to his partnership with the African Union, and he will do whatever he can to support their efforts. And that was news around East Africa and what's making headlines around the world. My name is Lynn Komdisha. I leave you with Ruth Nasij that has more on today's pullouts.
Thank you, Lynn. Now, in the pullout of the paper that comes out every Thursday, expect the business pullout and also Mortimer. Now, from business, expect a special report on the new bill that could kick city traders out of business. Also in business, there are so many tenders, so get ready and you could grab one from that pullout. From the Motomat is information every motorist needs and what you should expect in the Thursday pullout says, did you know driving through floods could damage your car? We have more from that pullout, so grab your copy this Thursday. That is it from the Thursday pullout. Now let us take a look at the sports news. Now the Shoe Cranes have continued with non-residential training at Lugogo in preparation for the 2019 Netball World Cup in July in Liverpool, England. The national netball team has started training at the hockey field with 18 players out of 20 who were summoned by the technical team. However, the team and the assistant coach, Nelson Bogile, are not happy with the Netball Federation's failure to secure Lugogo Indoor Stadium in time before training starts. Now the Shoe Cranes are ranked 7th in the world. Moving on, now the COPA Coca-Cola has continued to produce players who have gone on the shine for the country in various competitions. It will not be different this year when over 50 schools compete in the national championships due May 6th till 18th. To ensure only genuine students participate in the competitions for their respective schools, the organizing committee will only expect students that are still in school, that is between Senior 1 to Senior 6, to participate in the annual competitions. According to the rules, a player shall be required to produce a current school identity card. National identity card must have signed Form A, which is distributed to participating teams by the organizers. Players will as well be expected to produce proof of checkup of medical fitness from qualified physicians. The Shoe Cranes close off the sports segment where the Shoe Cranes skipper Peace Proskovia and Mary Numba, the only players expected to miss the national team training ahead of the Netball World Cup due to 12th to 21st in Liverpool, England. Now the pair are among the 20 players unveiled on February last week as resumed training on Monday at Lugogo. However, Shoe Cranes team manager Jason Wuchada noted that the two players are more likely to join the rest of the team on arrival in Liverpool. Sunshine Coast Lightning's new signing Proskovia is preparing to make her first appearance at the Suncorp Super Netball League that throws off the April 27th in Austria. The Austrian League will then take a break from June 23rd until July 22nd to honor the Netball World Cup. That is it for sports news. Now let us take a look at our daily Pearl of Africa series where KIDEPO Valley National Park is located in the northeastern region of Uganda, particularly in Kabonga district. KIDEPO hosts more than 77 mammals, about 475 birds and 692 plant species. Now the park has 28 unique animal species not found anywhere else in Uganda. Let's take a look. KIDEPO Valley National Park is a park like no other, filled with almost 100% of Uganda's wildlife, be it animals, flora, or the wild experience. The national park is in the northeastern region of Uganda, particularly in Kabonga district. A trip to KIDEPO is either by road transport or by air. Whichever way you decide to reach here, be assured of the greatest experience. The first reception here is the Karimajong or the Ik tribe. They introduce to you one of Uganda's diverse cultures, from the dances to the food and then the craft work. All these are a true representation of the people in the north. KIDEPO derives its name from its seasonal river called KIDEPO. The word KIDEPO in Inga Kirimajong, a local dialect, means picking up something from down. You could describe KIDEPO as conservation on a large piece of land at its best. Each and every wild animal species you could ever imagine is here. Now, to get to these creatures, a travel guide has to give an orientation and thereafter hit the road. The game drives through the park take about 3 to 4 hours. What follows are encounters with the animals. Now herds of antelopes feeding on grass, groups of buffaloes wandering, and zebras minding their business. Among so many animals enjoy their stay here. KIDEPO hosts more than 77 mammals and about 475 birds and 692 plant species. The park has 28 unique animal species not found anywhere else in Uganda. KIDEPO offers more adventures to top your Ugandan experience, such as camping, birding, nature walks, among others. This park has over 180 staff who are mostly law enforcement agents. These are armed by government to mainly curb poachers.
Oh, yeah. No, but if you went up to the side, up the other side, yeah, you'll be able to see.
For more Pearl of Africa series, visit our website, which is newvision.co.ug/Pearl of Africa. Our newspaper, the Sunday Vision, is also another home of adventures. Grab your copy every Sunday for Pearl of Africa series. Now let's speak business with Lynn Komjisha in the Handshake.
Well, the Finance Ministry has released 4.948 trillion shillings for the last 3 months of the 2018-2019 financial year. And 2.186 trillion of this money is going into debt repayment. I have with me Paul Busharizi. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Half of this money is going into debt repayment. Is there anything going to be done?
No, of course, of course. That's what the budget is. We know, like the total budget, I think of this year was 32 trillion.
Yes. Of
which or revenues, domestic revenues, would come up to about 16 trillion, which is half. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that half the budget is going into paying off debt. It was planned for in the budget. So
no, this is half of the third quarter.
Yes, but the national budget, they divide it into 4 quarters.
Yes.
So this is the quarter for now. Half of it goes, I think, just like the national budget, half of it goes to debt refinancing. It's okay.
Does that mean
it's planned for?
Is our debt burden therefore, set to decrease or improve or what?
No, yeah, that's a big debate whether our debt is sustainable. The money we've borrowed, if you're paying off 50% of your budget to paying off your debt, is that a sustainable situation? I mean, ideally, you should not be having debt. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
if you didn't have debt, that would be fantastic. But obviously, our needs are huge in terms of need, like for roads and power and even education and health. They're so huge. We can't do it within our own budget or what our revenue. So we need to we find ourselves borrowing. I think what should be of major concern, of course, what should be a major concern is what are we using our debt for? If our debt is being used to buy wines and perfumes and wigs and what, then you'll be worried. But the budget shows our debt is being used to build roads, to build dams, to put into education and health and what. That's important because if you build a road, economic activity is created.
Yep.
And hopefully revenues, more revenues. And we can pay off our debt. So that's what everyone should be looking at. Where are we putting this debt?
Yeah, that's okay. But I'm worried that this money has been set to, say, work on people's salaries, work on ABCD, but then the biggest chunk is going to debt.
No, half.
Okay, half of the chunk is going into debt repayment.
Yes.
My worry is, then what happens to these other services we're expecting?
No, the national budget, the overall budget has taken this into account. So we have the half of the budget is to do all those things you're talking about, and the other half is to do this. Of course, I agree that we're not doing enough. They are suffering.
Yeah,
and we're not doing enough. But that's just a function of our low revenue collections. That's really it.
So,
I mean, think about it. That in 1962, the Ugandan population was 7 million people. Today, it's 40 million people. So the Ugandan population has gone up 5 times.
Right.
5 times up. In 1962, the British left us with about 1,500 kilometers of tarmac road. Today, we have about 5,000. But if your population has gone up 5 times, shouldn't your road network also go up 5 times? We aren't even there. So you can see already we have a deficit. And mind even that 1,500 roads the British left for us was to help themselves, was to service themselves. It was not even enough for us at that time. But you're not yet even where you should be now. So we're playing catch up. You know, in a more maybe, who knows, the more disastrous government would be paying more debt. Would be paying 3/4 of our budget would be going to service debt.
Paul,
because we're playing catch up.
Yes, I understand. So what are the implications of, financing our debt? Is it, you mentioned, of course, improvement of A, B, C, D, and Z. What are those direct implications?
No, of course, the most obvious implication is that money that should have been spent, for example, building classrooms or equipping hospitals or doing more roads, is actually being spent on debt.
Yeah, which is okay.
Well, ideally, as I said as I began, if we had no debt, everything would go this way. But we have debt. It's the reality of our lives.
Yes.
So that's the direct implication, that everything we have around our services and infrastructure are not getting as much money as they require. But you see, it's a tricky situation. You have to pay the debt in order to get more debt.
Wow.
Yeah, because we're going to need more debt.
Is that what we're doing?
We're going to need more debt going into the future, even more debt.
So we're not reducing on the debt we have, I don't get it.
No, we're increasing. We have to, we must increase our debt.
Paul, in real life, you borrow.
Let me tell you, if this government wanted to be totally ridiculous and cut down the debt, first of all, it would stop universities. When I went to university, we were only, in our first year on campus, the total intake at university was 2,000 students. So we could cut down our costs and say, okay, we go back to the old days, 2,000 only. UPE, stop it. Free health, stop.
Then what happens?
You're cutting down your costs so that you don't need debt. Exactly. You see, the population is growing. You have to service the guys. Your economy is not moving as fast as it is because it is not enabled by these things like infrastructure. Your roads are too little.
Paul,
your power is too little.
You're not in government.
No, actually, it's the other way around. It's sad that I'm not in government.
Because so what happens if you implemented something like that?
It would be a disaster. Exactly. So that's why you have to incur debt to do these other things.
And pay debt.
And you pay it back. So your credit, you imagine if you lend me money and I don't pay you back, next time you won't want to lend me. So you pay me and I make sure I pay you back on time. So when I come back to you, you say, oh yeah, this guy's a good payer. You lend me some more money.
And the cycle goes on and on and
Absolutely.
on. Until the catch-up is done.
Yeah, it's going to catch up. Once all your people are educated, once all your places, roads are done, you've got enough power, you can generate economic activity, you pay it off.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
I'm still grateful you're not in government.
That is all we had for you. Thank you for watching. Be sure to catch my news updates and other programs here on New Vision TV by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.ug/video. You can also follow us on social media. Facebook is The New Vision. Twitter is @NewVisionWire. Instagram is @NewVisionWire. And our YouTube channel is New Vision TV. Catch up with me on my Twitter handle. I am Ruth, the voice.